Okay, this is chapter 1 for CFIN7. The so titled Overview of Managerial Finance. What is managerial finance? For the most part, managerial finance is corporate finance. When I went to school, this class was called corporate finance. The reason being is what we're going to talk about is the issues that companies face. And for the most part, that'll be considered with regard to corporations. And that is because 80% of the business conducted in the United States is via corporations. They, on the other hand, 80% of the businesses in the United States are not corporations. So we have a whole lot of businesses that are not corporations that are conducting small amounts of business, and then we have corporations that are only 20% of the business in the United States, but they're conducting the vast majority of the business. So what do we want to learn from this chapter? We're going to learn what finance entails, why you should have an understanding of basic financial concepts. So even if you don't deal with finance in business, which at some point you likely would, you need to understand it from your own personal perspective with regard to investing and borrowing money, which we will talk about both of those during the semester. We'll talk about the different forms of business organization, advantages and disadvantages of each. We'll talk about the goals that firms pursue and what the primary goal of the corporation or company should be. We'll talk about ethics and good governance and what the role that they play in a successful business. And then we'll talk about foreign firms and how they differ from U.S. firms and identify the factors that affect decision making with regard to multinational firms. So the regulatory environment in the rest of the world is very, very different in the U.S. than it is elsewhere. And that is both good and bad. It offers protections, but it also creates additional costs that companies face, especially corporations, when they conduct business. So what is finance? So finance is concerned with any decisions about money, so the cash flows of the company, how money is raised, and how it's going to be used. So raising it entails, with a corporation, we're generally either talking about equity or stock, or borrowing, which in the United States comes in the form of issuing debt, the bond market. Everything else equal, we want to have more, and the sooner you have it, the better. Less risky assets are more valuable than are preferred to riskier assets. So the certainty of cash flows is important, and uncertainty will reduce the value of the firm or the asset. Because an investor will need to earn a higher rate of return due to that uncertainty. So the general areas of finance, there are 4 general areas: financial markets and institutions, investments, financial services, and managerial finance or corporate finance. So other areas of business are non-finance areas, are also have to deal with finance. marketing, management, accounting, production, information systems. They're all affected by finance. They have budgets. They have to have to produce revenues and so forth. Okay, this is a typical corporate structure. We have the board of directors, the CEO. If we come down here, we see the vice president of finance, or CFO. We have the other departments: sales, operations, information systems. So we look, information system flows back into finance. Then from the CFO, we go down to the treasurer, and the treasurer oversees credit, inventory, finance as it relates to credit, inventory, and capital budgeting. And the controller handles the financial reporting issues, the accounting, and the tax issues. So as you can see, finance ties into everything. All right, we'll stop here and start with lecture 2 for the primary forms of businesses.